Hey, in this video, I'm talking about the truth about histamine intolerance. A lot of people are struggling with this condition. I'm gonna go through what histamine is, what metabolizes histamine, what are the underlying root causes of histamine intolerance, and what are the symptoms associated with it, and then what do we do naturally to help balance out our histamine levels so we get the benefits without the downsides and the symptoms so we can really function and thrive in life. And so when we look at histamine, it is a really important immune and nervous system messenger molecule. In fact, it's one of the key molecules associated with inflammation and driving up inflammation. And the goal of inflammation is to protect the body from an infection, some sort of pathogen getting into the bloodstream and driving up some sort of infection throughout the body, right? That gets into our nervous system and causes meningitis, gets into our lungs and causes pneumonia and kills us quickly. So histamine helps keep us alive. It also is part of the stress response. It helps our body have a natural fight or flight stress response. So really important for that. And it also helps with stomach acid production. Stomach acid, not only is that key for digestion, but on top of that, it helps to sterilize and get rid of bad bacteria, bad microbes. So when people have too much histamine and they're not able to metabolize it effectively, so as histamine's elevating, we should have enzymes. There's two in particular, DAO, diamine oxidase, and HNMT, histamine and methyltransferase, that metabolize histamine so our body gets rid of it. When we have too much histamine, it can cause a lot of problems. Excess swelling, it can cause tachycardia or a heartbeat, heart is racing, we can get hives, right? Think about any sort of kind of allergic reaction, get hives, headaches, migraines. We can have swelling really throughout our body. We can feel really, really fatigued and have more joint pain, more pain in general throughout our system. And some people are dealing with this where they're not actually having an allergic type reaction. It's subclinical, but they don't feel good, right? When they eat higher amounts of histamine foods or when they're stressed during certain times of their menstrual cycle, they have maybe hives, they have more skin issues, more itchiness in their skin. They don't feel like they can go out in the sun. They have headaches, migraines. This is all related to histamine intolerance or inability to metabolize the histamine effectively. So when we look at histamine, there is a precursor molecule called histidine, metabolizes into histamine. Histamine elevates, does its desired function, and then we metabolize it through these enzymes DAO and HMNT. Now, in order for those enzymes to properly work, okay, there's a couple things we need, okay, in order to metabolize it. Number one is we need a good gut microbiome. So there's an association between small intestinal bacterial overgrowth as well as other types of gut infections, H. pylori overgrowth in the stomach, parasites in the gut, yeast overgrowth. That's all going to slow down the metabolism of DAO and HNMT, and that's going to cause higher amounts of histamine to be elevated. Also, these bacteria will release endotoxins, right? Like LPS, lipopolysaccharides. This endotoxin, it reduces the liver's ability to clear the metabolites of histamine, which are going to cause more stress in the body. Also inhibits the liver's ability to metabolize estrogen effectively, and higher amounts of estrogen are going to drive up more histamine in the system, right? So there's an association there. And so we got to be able to metabolize those things. We need good liver function. One of the biggest stressors on the liver is endotoxins from the gut microbiome. So if the gut microbiome is off, the liver's not going to function well. We're not going to be able to metabolize estrogen well, other toxins that we're being exposed to, whether it's mold, whether it's alcohol, whether it's different medications. We're not going to be able to metabolize them well. We're going to have elevations in the histamine. So nutrient deficiencies, particularly things like copper, vitamin B6, and vitamin C, all really key for DAO and HNMT metabolism, right? And so to metabolize histamine, we need to have adequate amounts of vitamin C. We need to have enough copper on board. We need to have enough B6. There are some other nutrients that are key just for overall immune health, things like zinc, vitamin D, right, that are really important, magnesium, all really important with this process. So making sure that we're nutrient sufficient is really, really key. And we start to have histamine problems when we have increased histamine load along with low enzyme activity. So if we're eating a lot of histamine-rich foods, which I'm going to go through in just a second, we have low enzyme activity and then poor liver and gut function. That is the equation now for high histamine levels in our bloodstream and histamine intolerance symptoms. And so, and for some individuals, they get a lot of these during certain seasons, like when they're exposed to more pollen, things like that, their body's naturally producing more histamines. When there's more foreign proteins coming into our body, whether it's mycotoxins from household mold, whether it's pollens, whether it is, and that could be from trees, weeds, whether we're exposed to more ragweeds, whatever it is, we're gonna increase histamine. Now, a healthy individual, they're gonna increase histamine, but not noticeable enough to have symptoms. And that's fine, that's good, because they're able to metabolize the histamine. But somebody that has poor gut and liver function and poor enzyme activity, they're gonna have higher amounts of histamine. It's gonna go beyond a certain threshold, and now they're gonna have symptoms. Sneezing, watery eyes, itchiness, okay? All of these types of things are all related to this excess histamine in the system. Now, there are also some medications actually that increase your risk of histamine issues because they actually lower the function of the enzymes and put more stress on the liver. That's going to be things like non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, NSAIDs, which many people are constantly using. That hampers the liver, right? So it slows down liver function. We're not able to metabolize the histamines as effectively. It also can damage the gut lining, and increase our risk of dysbiosis or abnormal bacterial balance in our gut. So NSAIDs are big. Steroids are another one, corticosteroids. Another one is going to be antibiotics, birth control pills, right? These are all going to affect this. And then any sort of histamine blocker. So a lot of people are taking histamine blocking medications to kind of help them get through the season, but it's never actually addressing the root cause. And it actually makes them more dependent on it because it lowers DAO and HNMT enzyme activity. So they're not able to metabolize histamines as well without the medication. So they now become more and more dependent upon the medication once they start. One other one is going to be acid blocking medication. So anything that's affecting stomach acid levels as well, that's going to cause more dysbiosis in the gut. It's going to hamper the ability to metabolize and break down histamines. So these medications can be really, really problematic. They should be used, if they're used, for as short a period of time as possible. Meanwhile, we address the root cause and really get to that. Now, histamine-rich foods, these are often blamed for histamine intolerance, but they are way downstream. We should be able to consume some of these foods and not have any issues. And many of these foods are actually really healthy foods. It's going to be things like apple cider vinegar, or really any vinegar in general, leftover foods. Let's say you cook up meat, vegetables, things like that, you eat the meal, then you go ahead, you put your leftovers in Tupperware, we've all done this before, and you put it in the refrigerator. Every hour it's in there, it's increasing its histamine load. Okay, the refrigerator slows it down. Like if you leave it out, it's going to have a higher histamine load. It's going to have more metabolic function, more histamines are going to be building up. Refrigerator slows it down a little bit, but still by the next day when you go to eat it, it has significantly higher amount of histamines than it did when you ate it fresh. And so leftover foods can be an issue for people that are very sensitive to histamines. Things like bone broth, naturally healthy food, higher in histamines. Things like, we talked about vinegar, fermented foods, sauerkraut, pickles, kimchi, yogurts, things like that, all have higher amounts of histamines. Part of the fermentation process, histamine is naturally produced. Now, again, most people should be able to consume these foods, but if you have histamine symptoms, you may need to limit them or avoid them at least for a period of time. And then there's other foods like avocados, bananas, a lot of these fruits, avocados, bananas, pineapples, papaya, strawberries, okay, all higher in histamines, dark chocolate, nuts, seeds, higher in histamines. So for individuals that have a lot of histamine sensitivity, reducing consumption of these foods can be really beneficial, at least for a period of time. So we're reducing the overall histamine load while we want to increase enzyme activity and increase liver and gut function. That is going to be key here. In fact, some individuals have such a histamine issue that they can't even handle the sun, because actually getting out in the sun increases histamine response in our body. And so they say, I'm allergic to the sun. When I get out in the sun, I break out in hives. This is an issue with histamine intolerance. And so here's what we need to do. Reduce stress in general. Most people that have histamine issues, notice when they're under more stress, they have more of these histamine symptoms. And so keeping stress under control, really improving sleep quality is so important, getting circadian rhythm under control, really, really good high quality sleep, stabilizing blood sugar. So a protein-rich diet that has healthy fats, colorful fruits and vegetables that are lower histamine is an important part of this process to keep blood sugar balanced. Reducing toxins. You may be exposed to mold. You may have mold in your home. Okay, that's key. Now, if you have seasonal allergies, at least for a period of time, reducing your exposure to the pollens, the ragweeds, things like that obviously is key. Having like a good air filtration system in your home can be really important here. Having an air doctor or some sort of good quality air purifier, air filtration can be really key. Water filtration, so you're not ingesting chlorine, disinfectant byproducts. That can be really, really important as well to reduce your overall toxic load. Making sure that you're using natural cleaning products, natural hygiene products. You want to reduce your exposure to toxins. That is going to help boost your liver and gut function. What else can we do to help boost liver function? Well, we can do things like castor oil pack over your liver, which is going to help dilate the bile ducts and help improve overall liver function. We could do infrared sauna, which can boost overall liver function as long as you're hydrating your body well. We can do some different herbs, bitter herbs, like for example, dandelion, ginger, milk thistle, radishes. These can all be beneficial. These kind of bitter, astringent types of herbs can be beneficial for supporting good liver health. So those are key. Also in Chinese medicine, they say when you have liver dysfunction, oftentimes it can be kind of pent up anger, frustration, resentment, bitterness, unforgiveness. And so addressing any sort of emotional issues that may be holding your liver back can be key. Improve gut and immune function. So what do we do there? Well, intermittent fasting can be really great for helping support gut healing and the diversity of the gut microbiome. So intermittent fasting can be super important here as long as you're on a blood sugar stabilizing diet. Also, you can use things like good quality probiotics. That can be really beneficial. Or using things like postbiotics like butyric acid, tributyrin X, which actually helps to strengthen the enterocytes of the gut, which pull oxygen out of the air. And now with the lowered amount of oxygen, I'm sorry, not the air, but the air in your intestines, with lower levels of oxygen in the intestines, you get more diversity actually in your gut microbiome, which can be really beneficial. So I found that to be really helpful. And then certain nutrients that really support immune function, quercetin and vitamin C, great for immune health, as well as zinc, really good for immune health and also for being antihistamine. So they help to reduce the histamine load. Resveratrol can also be really helpful here for keeping inflammation under control. Vitamin D, optimizing your vitamin D levels, also very important for helping improve overall immune function and balancing out your immune system. And then finally, addressing any other nutrient deficiencies. We talked about vitamin D. Some people have B vitamin deficiencies. They're not getting enough folate, vitamin B6, vitamin B12, which we need for proper methylation with our liver. We need the B6 for proper enzyme function and production. So addressing any key nutrient deficiencies, also really key here. I recommend a good quality, high quality multivitamin with methylated forms of B vitamins. Methylcobalamin for B12, methylfolate for folate for B9 levels, and then also P5P, pyridoxal 5-phosphate, the most active form of vitamin B6. Making sure we're consuming that. That multivitamin should also have a little bit of copper, a little bit of zinc in there, magnesium, a lot of these key nutrients that we talked about that are going to help support you. So make sure you're doing those things, and if you're doing those for a period of time, you're going to help to balance out your histamine metabolism, and you're going to be able to function better. And then you don't have to be so fearful of these higher histamine foods. You can start to use some of the apple cider vinegar, some of the citrus fruits, which I didn't mention, lemons and limes, the avocados, these higher histamine but health benefiting types of foods, and not be so fearful because your liver's functioning well, your gut's functioning well, you're removing toxins, you're breaking down histamines, and you're able to really function and thrive in life. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my channel, browse the various videos that I've done on similar topics, and also make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button. That way you get notified whenever I put up a new video training. Thanks so much for being a part of our community here, and I really hope you enjoy the videos that we're putting out on a regular basis. Be blessed.